This is CES MMA.
Welcome back to Twin River Casino. We have moved up to the heavyweight division here at Undisputed 2. We have the ultimate redemption match on deck tonight, but somewhat of an odd circumstance. Right now you're taking a look at Eric BEDARD from Providence, Rhode Island, making his way to the cage, 4-2 with 2 knockouts, and tonight he steps in against Pat Walsh in a rematch from their bout in December. The only catch is he learned of the bout yesterday when Pat Walsh's original opponent fell through. Eric BEDARD agreed to take the fight and take his shot at possibly evening the series against Pat Walsh. Not a tough task, Scott, or rather not an easy task taking on somebody like Pat Walsh on one-day notice.
To be honest with you, I've trained with Pat, and he is an amazing wrestler. Eric, in my personal opinion, has nothing but potential as a heavyweight. We've seen him in there with Tyler King. We've seen him pull off some sweet submissions. And as you can see, Timmy Gillette right behind him talking in his ear. Fantastic coach and a great ground guy. Eric is very talented. Taking a fight on one day's notice means I want that fight. I don't want that. I don't want to miss the opportunity if that's my opportunity.
And you never know. That opportunity might not present itself again. Somebody could lose along the way, and the fight doesn't have the same allure and luster as it might have had at this current stage right now.
I agree.
Where they're coming off the fight in December. It's fresh in everybody's mind. And you and I remember that fight when we were here, cage side at Twin River. BEDARD lost by Kimura, 51 seconds in the round number 1. He got caught and taken down early.
Correct.
And that was all she wrote. And Pat Walsh just showed his versatility and showed it rather quickly in that bout.
And on the flip side, heavyweights always tend to make weight. You don't have to do a big cut.
Funny how that works out, right? Neither fighter had any problem making that heavyweight limit, or rather staying under it. Now you see BEDARD inside the cage right now, just pacing around a bit. Again, 4-2 with 2 knockouts. Those 2 losses coming to Pat Walsh and Tyler King. So pretty good company.
2 guys top of the food chain right now at heavyweight in the Northeast.
Absolutely. And right now we're about to see Pat Walsh from West Bridgewater, Mass, fighting out of Y Crew, making his way to the cage. Pat Walsh, an accomplished college wrestler. He dabbled a bit at Ohio State, Binghamton.
Yeah. He's a scholarship athlete to Ohio State. And I mean, there's one thing to go and try out and be a member of the team, et cetera, but to be a scholarship athlete to Ohio State, he was an All-American, I believe, out of Stoughton, Mass, in high school.
That's right, competed in the NCAAs, has a ton of wrestling experience. You saw him win his debut in September, of last year. He won that fight in 32 seconds.
Correct.
51 seconds against BEDARD. He's yet to go a full minute in the cage.
Yeah.
Maybe tonight's the first time for that.
Well, when Pat stayed at amateur and MMA for a while because he wanted to continue to wrestle. And of course, competing in wrestling, you can't be a professional athlete in anything else. So Pat stuck around, was training a lot, and did a lot of amateur MMA. He flew out to Colorado and won an amateur title in Colorado a year or so back. So he's ready now. He's done with his wrestling, and now he's making a full commitment to MMA.
He's made the right choice thus far. You saw some familiar faces in that corner, Crew John Allen, and of course you saw John Doomsday Howard, who trains out of Y Crew.
I heard of him.
Pat, the beast from the East, Walsh, 2-0 with 1 knockout, about to step inside and take on the rematch against Eric BEDARD. And credit to both fighters for taking that fight. A lot of times, somebody beats you once, they don't feel any need to give you the rematch. But Pat
what's the old saying in boxing? If you beat a guy, get the rematch, and if you lost to the guy, get the rematch, and if you beat him, don't ever give him one.
Exactly. So Pat Walsh risking that undefeated record tonight against Eric BEDARD. And there you see Doomsday Howard applying the Vaseline, and of course Scott Ream is familiar with Doomsday Howard.
Actually, John and I just trained together this afternoon before this event. John and I were great friends prior to our fight, continue to be great friends and training partners now. Kudos to Pat Sullivan for finding Eric in such short notice.
All right, take a look at the Souza Tequila tail of the tape. Eric BEDARD weighing in at 247 yesterday, training out of Gillette's MMA from Providence, Rhode Island, and Pat Walsh from West Bridgewater, Mass, training out of Y Crew. He tipped the scales at 230. Let's send it down to Bill Carpenter for the official introduction.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Souza Tequila bout. We're scheduled for 3 5-minute rounds in the cage, heavyweights. Your referee for this contest is Kevin McDonald. Introducing first to my left, fighting out of the red corner. He weighed in at 247 pounds, representing Gillette's MMA. His professional record shows 4 wins, only 2 losses. Those 4 wins include 2 knockout and 2 submission victories. Fighting out of Providence, Rhode Island, here is Eric Lucky Strikes BEDARD. Across the cage to my right, fighting out of the blue corner, this heavyweight tipped the scales at exactly 230 pounds. Representing Y Crew, he is unbeaten in his first 2 professional bouts with 1 knockout and 1 submission. Fighting out of West Bridgewater, Massachusetts, introducing Pat Beast from the East, Walsh. 3 5-minute rounds, heavyweights.
The funny thing about this one, Scott, is the chances are BEDARD lasts longer than he did in the first bout, despite taking it on 1-day notice, though that wouldn't be hard to do.
I would imagine his game plan is to try to draw this fight out as much as he can, and let's see what Pat looks like in his second round. He hasn't been there yet as a pro.
He's yet to be past 1 minute, let alone 1 round. Pat Walsh in the red trunks coming out quickly.
Shooting a single. Eric has the guillotine locked in. Pat's gonna watch his neck here. But he did a great job to pass to negate that guillotine. You'll see Pat now try to step over. Very hard to finish this guillotine the way that Pat stepped over into side control. Now he's broken free of it, and Pat's looking for another key lock early.
Yeah, Walsh just took that left arm and just pushed it right down. No opposition whatsoever. 30 seconds into the opening
He's
round.
still looking for that Kimura right now. And then he's let it go. Knee on belly, he's trying to throw some straight punches.
Well, that Kimura was the finishing move in their first bout.
Nice job for Eric getting up. Pat throws a couple of punches, shooting right back down. He's got him off the ground. Big slam of a big man.
Not easy to pick up Eric BEDARD and slam him down like that, but Pat Walsh does it. Pat Walsh does a nice job of changing eye levels, going high, then going downstairs with the takedowns.
He just did a great job passing to get to mount. Changing levels keeps your opponent off kilter. You can see right now Pat has his hips extended, his unders, and he's looking at grapevine from the mount. Short elbow to the mouth.
Well, Pat Walsh has officially gone past the 1 minute mark, so he's achieved some new ground here. 3:44 to go in round number 1.
What I like very much is Pat's not just barraging. Well, as I say that, he does it.
Well,
he was holding, picking his point.
Spots.
Yeah. Pat takes Eric BEDARD's back. He's not even putting the hooks in yet. He's just standing there punching. Eric needs to do something quickly.
Yeah, not much is landing, but there's not much fight from Eric BEDARD on his end. And that could spell trouble. 3:17 to go in the first round.
And here we go. Now you see what happens is that Pat Walsh just flattened Eric out. He's throwing these punches. Kevin McDonald's not going to let this go much further.
No, these are starting to land, and that's going to do it. 1:55 into round number 1. Pat Walsh does it again against Eric Lucky Strikes BEDARD, and this time the lucky strikes, or rather the fortuitous strikes, belong to Pat Walsh, as he took BEDARD's back and just unloaded, and at the end it was just too much. BEDARD did nothing to do to fight back, and Kevin McDonald, like you said, had no choice but to stop it. Another impressive win for Pat Walsh.
I have to agree with you. Without exception, Pat was calm, cool, collected, composed, and did a great job, not to mention taking 250 pounds up in the air very easy.
You see the replay. Early on, those punches really weren't landing, but as he flattened them out, Scott,
he's trying. You can see that was a great view.
Yep.
2 right hands right in the ear.
There
Not
it is.
That one, you got to worry sometimes about hitting your opponent in the back of the head. And Pat's trying to do the best he can by there's 3 or 4 punches right in the ear, which is a legal punch.
Yeah, once he flattened BEDARD out, there was no opposition or defense from BEDARD's end, and that really
Once
was
your hips are pinned down like that, once you can't move your hips, you're very limited in any type of defense.
Well, there it is, a win in the books for Pat Walsh, the Beast from the East. Let's send it down to Bill Carpenter for the particulars.
Ladies and gentlemen, the bout comes to an end at 1 minute, 56 seconds of round number 1. Referee Kevin McDonald halts the contest. Your winner by TKO, Pat Beast from the East, Walsh.